Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something super cool, a highly structured, neon-lit tutorial on how to absolutely dominate the text-based economy of Torn City. Look, if you've been grinding away in the alleys and you're wondering how the billionaires in this game actually make their massive fortunes, you are definitely in the right place. We're going to break down a definitive, tier-by-tier money-making guide. We're talking taking you from a completely broke beginner, literally scraping by on the streets, all the way up to an untouchable financial kingpin. And don't worry, we've sifted through all the advice from veteran players to give you the real deal, completely stripping away the time wasters like, gambling at the casino or digging through the dump. We're just focusing on a crystal clear path to wealth. So here is our roadmap today. We're climbing a 5-step skill tree. We'll start with Tier 1, Street Hustles, move up to Tier 2, Muscle and Mugs, scale into Tier 3, Global Trade, dominate in Tier 4, the Hitman, and finally, reach the top at Tier 5, the Kingpin. Let's get into it. Starting off with Tier 1, Street Hustles. This is your entry-level cash generation. Okay, so we're starting at the absolute bottom, right? Every new player has to scrape by using their daily limits and nerve. At this stage, your most valuable asset is literally just your energy. And that brings us to a practice the community calls, well, slutting, or selling losses. Now, I know that sounds a little brutal and maybe a bit absurd, but honestly, it's a fantastic, fast injection of working capital when you're just starting out. See, older, much wealthier players want to boost their defensive merits, which means they need to successfully defend against attacks. So they will literally pay you cold hard cash to attack them and intentionally lose. So, how do you actually execute this? Basically, you treat the game's mechanics as raw commodities. First up, you absolutely need to max out your daily limits. Go buy 100 items a day from the city shops. Specifically, grab beer and plushies from Bits and Bobs or lollipops from the sweet shop. If you just resell those on the market, boom, that's a guaranteed 50K to 70K daily profit right there. Next, head over to the forums and find buyers for your attacks. But listen, here's the catch. Do not burn all your energy doing this. You have to save enough energy to hit the gym, because building up your stats is your one and only ticket out of the street-level hustle. And if there's one golden rule you'll remember for this hustle, it's this. Never, ever sell a loss for less than $250,000 a hit, period. Set a short-term goal for yourself, like maybe saving up to buy a donator pack so you can rent a private island. Once you hit that goal, stop selling losses completely and put 100% of your focus on those gym gains. Moving right along to Tier 2, Muscle and Mugs, stat progression and opportunistic strikes. As you move up the ladder, it is super tempting to take those shiny new gym stats you've been building and just start mugging people for quick cash. But hold on a second. Mugging requires really high stats and a deep, deep knowledge of your target's wallet. If you go in with low stats, you're just looking at wasted energy and massive hospital bills. So the absolute crucial takeaway here is to completely avoid random muggings until you are strong enough to guarantee a return on that 25 energy it costs. Unless you know for a literal fact that a player is holding a massive amount of cash, trust me, you are way better off just training. Let's actually compare these two approaches. On one hand, you have the high-risk gamble of mugging. On the other, you have a much safer route, renting out your bounty slots. Check this out. Every player can only have 10 active bounties placed at once, right? Well, super wealthy players who want to just spam bounties on an enemy will happily pay you a guaranteed fee of 50 to 150 grand just to place bounties on their behalf. The best part? It requires absolutely zero stats. Sure, there's a tiny risk of retaliation from the target, but it's generally pretty safe. But if you are dead set on mugging and want to make it an active income stream, your payouts need to consistently beat that baseline we talked about, 250 grand. Think about it. If your mugs aren't pulling in more than what you could make by just taking a dive and selling a loss, you are actively wasting your energy. All right, we've made it to Tier 3, Global Trade, Level 15 and the Airstrip Empire. Guys, reaching level 15 is a massive, massive turning point. This is how you unlock the most reliable moneymaker in the entire game. First step, hit level 15. Second step, and this is completely non-negotiable, you must rent a private island, or PI, that comes fully equipped with an airstrip and a pilot. That airstrip is magic. It cuts your travel time down by 30% and lets you carry 10 extra items. Then you just fly abroad, load up on exotic flowers or plushies, fly back to Torn City, and sell them to traders for a massive markup. The returns on this for active runners are just incredible. We're talking a very reliable $3 to $5 million every single day. This literally changes the entire way you play the game. You go from being a street-level thug to a wealthy international importer overnight. Now, if you want to step past just importing, you can level up and become a full-time broker. This is advanced trading. Essentially, you're buying items from other players for slightly below market value and then flipping them. The secret sauce here is using a personal bazaar, which lets you completely bypass that annoying 3% item market fee. To execute this properly, though, you really need the right cyberpunk toolkit. First, you'll want around 50 to 75 million in starting capital. Next, you buy that personal bazaar using points. You'll also absolutely want to unlock the stock ticker. That's going to let you securely stash your cash away from muggers. And finally, do yourself a favor and use third-party tools like the Torn Exchange Calculator. It automatically runs the profit margins on massive trades, so you aren't stuck doing complex spreadsheet math in your head. Now here is a wild but completely brilliant trick. Because holding huge amounts of capital makes you a giant target, you can use this strategy to become untouchable while your trade's clear. Once you finish the intravenous therapy education course, you can actually draw your own blood into bags to lower your health, and basically intentionally put yourself in the hospital. While you're laying there in a hospital bed, players can still buy from your open bazaar, but muggers cannot touch you. It is the ultimate, if not slightly unhinged, defensive trading strategy. Next up, Tier 4, the Hitman, ranked wars and bounty hunting. For all you combat veterans out there, this is where those massive battle stats finally turn into serious cash. We're talking about monetizing your violence. You can work as a mercenary, jumping into factions temporarily just to help them win a war, or you can operate as a lone wolf bounty hunter. But a quick heads up, this requires a really deep understanding of combat mechanics, weapon loadouts, and stat manipulation. So, how do you kickstart this Hitman career? First, obviously, you need to build up those late-game battle stats. Then, you're going to rely heavily on third-party analytical tools, like the Torn Tools extension, to estimate exactly how strong your target is before you ever pull the trigger. This is so crucial, because it ensures you literally never take a losing fight. You'll also want to equip tactical temporary items, like smoke grenades or flashbangs, to bridge any gap in stats. Then, put them in the hospital and claim that bounty or score those points for your faction. The payouts here are honestly just mind-blowing. While regular bounty hunting pays pretty well, participating in high-ranking faction wars is where the life-changing money is. Top-tier mercenaries can literally pull in hundreds of millions of dollars in a single war. But make no mistake, getting to this level demands absolute dedication, immense stats, and flawless execution. And finally, we've made it to Tier 5, the Kingpin. End game passive income. Welcome to the absolute penthouse of Torn City. This is the dream, right? Making millions without spending a single point of nerve or energy. At this stage, your money does all the heavy lifting, completely insulating you from that daily grind. You've traded your way up, you've won the wars, and now you're just putting your massive stockpiles of wealth to work for you. So where do you actually park your billions to secure your status as a financial untouchable? Let's break it down. First, you invest up to $2 billion straight into the Citibank, making sure you have maxed out your banking merits. Second, you start buying up stock benefit blocks. These are specific chunks of shares in game companies that reward you with passive item drops or free energy. And third, you become a high-end landlord. You buy fully upgraded private islands for around $1.6 billion a pop and just rent them right back out to other players. When you look at the daily ROI on this chart, it is super clear. The Citibank is absolutely your first major milestone for passive cash flow. A fully maximized $2 billion investment yields over $4 million every single day. Property rentals are fantastic too, but they do require massive upfront capital for a slightly lower proportional return. Basically, the bank is your absolute safest, highest yielding bedrock. So, from a street hustler selling plushies out of a backpack to an untouchable financial kingpin, what's your path going to be? Are you going to grind the global markets, dominate the battlefields and faction wars, or quietly build a massive real estate empire from the shadows? The city is literally yours to conquer. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will catch you in the next one.